The biggest scams in human history. Multiple sales of the Brooklyn Bridge, early 20th century. Imagine you're a tourist in 1910 New York. You just got off the ship and you're taking in all the chaos and beauty of the famous city. Then, from the crowded street, a dapper man with a fluffy mustache approaches you.
Hello there. Hello. I'm Mr. Roberts. Nice to meet you, Mr. Roberts. You're welcome to New York. If you don't mind, I'd like to interest you in a business that's sure to make you lots of American dollars in a very short time. Oh, sure. Go on. You see that bridge over there? It's mine, and I have the deed to prove it. All right. I can sell it to you if you want. You can do that in America? Yes, I can. This is the land of the free, where everything is possible, my friend. But how do you reckon I can make money from a bridge? It's simple. You can just put up toll booths, and anyone who wants to cross your bridge will pay you. Oh, I see. I need to rest now, but I'll meet you in the morrow with the money.
Well, sorry, pal. You've just been scammed because that dude wasn't even Mr. Roberts. That was the renowned New York con man, George C. Parker. And the bridge wasn't the only thing he sold. He also sold the Statue of Liberty, Madison Square Garden, the tomb of Ulysses S. Grant, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and 4 lots in City Hall Park. He could have sold you the entire state if you had the money. The Brooklyn Bridge was just special because of how many times he sold it, which was too many to count. Some of his victims paid as much as $50,000 for the bridge, but when they later returned to mount their toll booths, the cops would stop them and the con would dawn on them. This happened so often that the processors on Ellis Island started handing out warning cards saying, "You can't buy public buildings or streets." However, according to New York state law, criminals like Parker got 4 strikes before they were locked up for life. So when Parker bounced a bad $150 check in 1928, the law sent him to Sing Sing to spend the rest of his days among like-minded individuals. However, Parker didn't enjoy their company or his accommodation, and he croaked after 8 years in the facility. The Great Diamond Hoax, 1872. In November 1870, Philip Arnold got tired of making diamond drilling bits, so he took some rough diamonds from his job, mixed them with cheaper gemstones he bought from some Indians, and set off for San Francisco. And with the help of John Slack, he deceived a rash California investor that they'd found the stones somewhere in the West. But he told the investor to keep it a secret until they'd explored the land better. However, as Arnold predicted, the investor immediately told his boys about it. So, by the time they returned with their second bag of gemstones, California's biggest gem dealers, bankers, and government officials were in on the secret. And because they all wanted a piece of the pie, they decided to buy Arnold and Slack out of the game. So, for his share, Slack asked for $50,000 up front, and he expected another $50,000 when they returned with their next bag of goodies. But as soon as Slack got the money, the grifters sailed to London, where they dug into a gem store and filled their sack with $20,000 worth of uncut diamonds and other stones. And the moment they'd finished shopping, they shot back to San Francisco to show some of their harvest from the diamond farm to their gullible investors. Then they took the remaining stones to an open field in Wyoming, where they salted the land by planting the stones all over the field. This time, they gave their investors more gems than ever before. And when Charles Louis Tiffany, the founder of Tiffany Co., inspected some of them, he confirmed that they were worth $150,000.
So, what do you think? I think we struck gold. Diamonds. And how much are we looking at here? Take whatever you've put into this venture and multiply by forever. We're rich.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Let's go. Vámonos. Where did that come from?
To top it off, the investor's mining engineer also increased the land's value when he saw the planted stones. But by then, Slack was already out after receiving his $50,000 balance. However, this new info gave Arnold more leverage. So apart from the $150,000 he got for his discovery, he also sold $300,000 in stock to one of the investors. Then, some months later, a geologist who'd been working in that part of Wyoming exposed the fraud, and everyone except the investors celebrated him, probably because they were too busy bawling their eyes out and counting their losses. 6 years later, some rival banker would shoot Arnold dead, but Slack would wait until he was 79 before kicking the canteen. Selling the Eiffel Tower, 1925. When Victor Lustig arrived in Paris in 1925, the name on his passport was probably Louis Laurent. or some other bogus name, but since his French flowed like the Seine, he was easily the most believable Frenchman in France at the time. However, he wasn't in Paris to eat a hot baguette at the Louvre in the company of a smoking French prostitute, which, by the way, is the best way to see the city. No, he was there to sell the Eiffel Tower. He'd read somewhere that the French government was considering tearing down the metallic monument because France had been spending a fortune to keep it from falling on annoying tourists. Most people would read that and say, who cares? It's just a huge chunk of metal. But Lustig wasn't one of those people. He was the type of guy who would travel to Paris, draft some letters with fake French government stationery, and get a room in a fancy Parisian hotel where he'd invite the top scrap metal dealers in France to a secret meeting. And in another Oscar-worthy performance, he sold himself as a real government agent, and soon the scrappers were bidding for the Eiffel Tower.
So, how do we know you're who you say you are? Look at the letter I sent you. That's the seal of the French government, isn't it?
But anybody can make a seal, no?
Maybe. But the president only gives this pen to his closest associates.
Eventually, a poor fish named André Poisson bit Lustig's bait and paid a boatload of money for the dismantled tower. But rather than receive the parts of the Eiffel Tower, he got the second part of the Victor Lustig show, which was his disappearance. Lustig was back home in Austria-Hungary faster than Poisson could say, oui. The smooth criminal would return to Paris a month later to pull the same gimmick. But this time the police got involved, and, as usual, Lustig evaporated before their eyes. But some years later, his magic failed him when the U.S. Secret Service arrested him. They'd caught him making some of the best counterfeit dollars the U.S. would ever see, so they got him a bed in Alcatraz, where he did some time before poofing off the earth in 1947. The Portuguese banknote crisis, 1925. In 1910, the Portuguese ended their monarchy-malarkey, and as a result, the government became a hot potato and the economy was tanking hard. But while others saw an empire in ruin, Artur Virgilio Alves Reis saw huge dollar signs, especially in the Portuguese colony of Angola. Like most well-adjusted children, he dreamed of becoming the best forger in the world and devoted his life to mastering his craft.
So, who are you supposed to be? I'm a document artist. Look, these reels aren't even real. Wow, have you tried spending them? Of course. How do you think I got so much candy?
Alves Reis was freshly out of prison in 1924 when he met José Bandera, who later introduced him to his brother and two other crooks. And together, these men would almost bankrupt Banco de Portugal and Portugal itself. To launch their kooky scheme, Alves Reis forged a contract in which the state of Angola authorized him to borrow £1 million, or about 100 million escudos, which would be exchanged for the right to issue equivalent amounts of Banco de Portugal banknotes in Angola. And after Alves Reis got the contract notarized, Bandera's brother, the Portuguese minister in the Netherlands at the time, got the consulates in France, Germany, and Britain to authenticate it. So, with all their documents looking legit and a little luck, they convinced an English printing firm to print 200,000 official 500 escudo notes. All they had to do was pay the £1,500 printing fees. Then they pumped the counterfeits into the economy through gold and foreign currency exchanges. They were so sleek, Banco de Portugal slept through the whole thing. And now that he was drowning in money, Alves Reis bought luxury cars, expensive jewelry, a golden palace, and a new bank. Yeah, for his final act, he'd planned to use proceeds from his Banco de Angola e Metropole to buy a controlling share in Banco de Portugal. But things went out of control when they made their second order of 380,000 notes in July of 1925. They raised suspicions when they forgot to pay some of their printer's bills, and Alves Reis changed the numerical order of the notes. Still, their scam didn't fall apart until a teller at a firm of money changers in Porto told on them. So the jig was up. However, by then the Portugal economy had been nuked. One member of the team would escape jail time for the historic heist, but Alves Reis himself was later released from prison in 1945 before dying as a phony preacher in 1955. At least he could say he died doing what he loved. Fake art deals, 1999. Most people think Johns are only good for removing the repercussions of your nutritional adventures, but they've also been known to create very good counterfeit artworks. When John Drew saw John Myatt's painting in 1985, he didn't just see the contours of the horse's tail or whatever else people see in paintings, he saw a business partner.
So how long have you been doing this? I've been painting since the first time I smeared poop on my nursery wall. I can see that in how good your work is, but I can also see you've not been making money from it. You know what they say? The purpose of art is not to make money, right? Well, how about you stop saying nonsense and change your purpose?
Under Drew's direction, Myatt began churning out counterfeits of modernist masterpieces faster than an Uzi in a drive-by. For his part, Drew disguised himself as a posh art collector and visited galleries and museums where he stole and altered provenance documents in their archives. And while Drew was on his typewriter, forging certificates and making up false origins for the artworks, Myatt was in his studio, toiling away with coffee grounds, house paint, and vacuum cleaner dust to age the paintings. As incredible as that sounds, the creations were actually good enough for auction houses like Sotheby's and Christie's. Even when the paintings were appallingly bad, as Myatt described them, Drew's provenance forgeries often got them sold. They could have limited their scam to obscure artists, but the money was in the popular guys. So they also made fakes of artists like Pablo Picasso and Marc Chagall. And they got away with it for many years until Scotland Yard's Art and Antiquities Unit found them out. In 1999, Drew got 6 years as the brain behind the scheme, and as Pinky, Myatt got a year, but he was soon out after 4 months of being a good boy. In over a decade of fake art deals, Myatt produced over 200 imitations, and Drew sold their clients over £1.8 million of the rubbish.